I was not doing Instagram lives for a while, and someone reached out to me and was like, "You should do Instagram lives more often because I'm not on Facebook." And I was like, "I think you're the first person to ever tell me that, but maybe there are other people out there like that, so
Right.
we might as well check it out."
Cool.
So yeah, we're live officially. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chiropractic Compass podcast with your host Johnny Reuter and the famous Dr. Brad Glowaki. Everyone. So Dr. Brad actually is in town for his seminar, Elements of the Close, as well as a Syntropy adjusting seminar, which is pretty cool to hear that he's still working on his craft, working on his art, and everything like that. So be sure that you drop some comments, ask us questions, share this feed, anything. We finally, after a little miscommunication, we finally are here, and that's all that really matters is that we're here and we're doing it. If you want to give yourself a brief introduction, I would love that, and tell people where you're from, what you do, and I'm sure people recognize you. So,
All right. Yeah. So I practice in Southern California. I've been in practice for 21 years, and I'm a graduate of LACC. And it was really cool because that campus at the time I was there didn't have a lot of philosophy and didn't have a lot of things to offer on the tech side of things. So it made me go find it, go search it out. And I would tell you it was part of my journey, and it was a good thing because I valued what I got. And when I was at school, feeling a little bit lost, a little bit frustrated as a student, I'm sure many of the students can relate. It's part of your journey. And it really became a cool thing for me to have to seek it out, to own it, to value it that much more. And then once I got the big idea, it was just like, there's no stopping me. And what was cool is you can't, keep those secrets to yourself. So you start sharing with your friends and classmates. And we had a really rebellious class because we kind of got it.
yeah.
I think there's some really awesome chiropractors that went to schools that didn't necessarily set them up for great success, but you can't be a rich victim. So, it's up to you to decide your own destiny and do what you want to do with it.
Absolutely. So what originally got you into chiropractic? What was like, this is it, I got to do it?
Playing sports.
Okay.
I played 3 sports in high school and just had some sports injuries. One of them was I shattered my elbow, busted my arm playing hoops, and I had to go through a full rehab and PT and surgery, and still got some screws in my elbow and some funky stuff. And so that was a really cool experience. I go, wow, I like how they work with their patients. I like that interaction. And then playing football, I had some neck injuries, and basically the MD said, "Here's the pills and drugs, and your season's over." And
Yeah.
I went to the chiropractor, and one visit later, I was at practice, and it was just like, hey, wait a minute, how does this work? And what was really cool is my head football coach, the chiropractor was his son. So he said, you can't listen to the MDs and you don't need to be taking pills. Chiropractic's going to change your life. And all right, cool. That's a pretty big wish, but I couldn't move at the time. So
Right.
then what I did is I worked in a PT office and I worked in a chiropractic office. And at an early age, 16, I had to figure it out. And it took me a few weeks to just see the differences. And I go, really cool professions. They each work on a different level with patients intimately. But man, chiropractic's cool.
Yeah.
And to me, it was just like the philosophy and a little bit of that rebel spirit and the idea that you can be your own person. I go, that's what I want. And some of the PTs' frustration, at least the place I was, I don't know if it's for all of them, but they're a little frustrated with the MDs and what they couldn't do. And I thought, I never want to live my life that way. I'd like to be in control of my own destiny. And so, the above, down, inside out philosophy and everything I got from my first chiropractor is what I did.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about that rebellious kind of urge that you have to kind of have. We were just kind of having a conversation on the way over here about what it takes to be a chiropractor in today's day and age. We're constantly being bombarded with negative news and being taken away from the news and stuff like that. Talk a little bit about your personal feelings and then a professional feeling of like, what is this doing to us, right, as chiropractors?
Yeah, so I speak to chiropractic groups on 4 continents every year, and I travel a bunch. And I'll tell you, in every airport is exactly what you said. It's negative news. Almost every airport plays CNN, and what that stands for is constantly negative news. So if you want to avoid negative news, don't watch CNN because that's what it stands for, constantly negative news. And the reality is, just being a little bit of a rebel, I think, is part of what a good chiropractor is. Any cause in healthcare, and if you see it through a chiropractic lens, you could make it your chiropractic mission. And I think that's really important for students, especially listening to this, is market to your passions and speak from a place that something in health is a fetish for you.
Yeah.
So whatever that experience is, whatever that resonates with you on whatever level. It's like you can get into the drug issue and the oxycodone and oxycontin,
Right.
pain meds. If you want to be the change for that, you could talk about obesity if those are the things that you want to get into. For me, it always comes back to the subluxation. It always comes back to what we do differently. I don't judge how chiropractors practice, but I think the opposite of success right now is conformity.
Yeah.
And if you're conforming to the medical cartel, to what is a sinking ship, it's all the wrong things. As Fred Bard said, even rats leave a sinking ship, and it is time to leave the sinking ship. So the whole medically integrated, I don't dig it.
Yeah.
I really think that's the recipe for disaster. So as a chiropractor, you got to be a rebel. What do you stand for? What do you stand against? How much you speak out about what you stand against is totally up to you.
Right.
But my feeling is, if you know where your boundaries are, you can really be a beacon in your community wherever you practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think taking a different stance is really up and coming in the world right now and in society. People are starting to realize this isn't, it's not for me, right? I need something more natural. I need to do something that will keep me healthy, right? Not react and just fix something instantaneously.
So at the time of this filming, just the other day, Duke University was fined over $100 million for falsifying medical records and studies and all this double-blind, peer-reviewed research talk. I get a little fed up with it because on the pharmaceutical side, they falsify a lot of it. There's an 86% collusion rate between drug companies and the journal articles that are written. In other words, the journal articles are basically marketing materials for the drug companies. So even the journal articles aren't science anymore. So I love the work that Heidi's doing. I love the work that CBP nonprofits doing. I think ASRF deserves more support for what they do for spinal research. So there's a number of great causes out there. But at the same time, before we hold ourselves to too stiff of a standard, I kind of look across the aisle and I go, they're falsifying the records. They're falsifying the information. And if you're a rebel, you need to tell people what true health is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to take a time out. Can someone drop a comment quick and make sure you can hear us? We got a new setup here, so I want to make sure that we're being heard. And if we are, great. But we're going to continue going through here because I see volume on my end and we're good. So
we got some feedback.
Yeah. Can we get some feedback, guys? Anyone watching this that has sound? Little bit? Anything? No? Oh, yep. Okay, cool.
All right.
Cool. Thank you, Ian. Awesome. So let's continue here. I mean, the fact that people are sick of it, I think we hit that on the head, right? I mean, people are fed up with the medical model. But let's go back a second. Let's go back to what you said before. You said, I always go back and rely on the subluxation. How important is the philosophy of chiropractic, right? And you were talking to me and saying, I sell the principles. That's genius, I think, right? I mean, when it comes to chiropractic, you have to kind of do that.
You have to. Look, different is marketable. Opposite of success is conformity. That makes it really simple. Where are you different? What is your difference? How are you able to stand out in your community? And then if that is your belief system, your philosophy, where I see the incongruence is then a lot of docs don't have procedures that then validate and support that philosophy. So like I said, I teach on many different continents. We cover a couple different workshops, but it's always through that lens of vitalism. And then the procedures that I teach have to be layered with, this is what we do, this is what we don't do. This is how we say it, here's why we don't say it. And it can be simple things. We had somebody say, hey, we're going to provide some treatment to a patient. I go, we don't use that word treatment. That implies it's passive, it's very medical. We provide chiropractic care, but I don't treat anybody.
Right.
That still falls into that medical model. We don't have a waiting room. We have a reception area in the front office because we're receiving patients. We don't make them wait. So I really drill down into even little things like that in the vocabulary. But every health talk we do outside the office, we talk about the subluxation.
Yeah.
Every procedure in the office on a day one, we explain the subluxation. Throughout care in my office, I'll ask my patients to define a subluxation. They have to know what it is.
Right.
So, we always bring it back.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
I think you have to. So I want you to take a step back and put yourself in the student's shoes.
No. Not doing it. I'm not going back to school.
Not doing
Next
it.
question.
Never.
I take pass. I don't want that one. What else you got?
I love it. I love it.
I do not envy the position of the students. It's worth it to go through school, but if we can just be honest, it sucks.
Yeah.
Right? There's always more to study. There's always more to read. There's always more shit to do. It's like, it sucks. However, the profession itself is amazing. My advice to students is get through it. You know, I mean, be passionate about what you're learning. Be into the craft. But the amount of stuff now that you guys are layered with, it's not a fun time in life for most students. So if that resonates with you, you're in the right spot. You know, don't bail out. But it is a test. And at the end of it, there is no better profession on planet Earth. I mean, it's just the coolest thing to be able to help people and to get paid to do it and to get hugs and high fives and knuckle jives all day, man. It is the coolest thing to see a high volume in practice and to have people fully appreciate what you do. There is nothing better. So to the students out there, I just say stick with it, hang in there. There's highs and lows in school, and when you get out, it's a whole lot of fun stuff.
Absolutely. I love that answer. I liked your first answer, too.
Yeah. Next question.
I'm not doing it.
Take a pass.
Not doing it.
Yeah.
But so now that we were in the student's shoes, let's go to the doctor's shoes. How do you, we talked about you talk principle, you talk subluxation, but when it comes to outside events, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to advertising your practice, I know you teach Elements of the Close, New Patient Maven, and I would love for you to give us a little bit of insight on what those are and how students and docs can go about getting more involved in those.
Cool. So, I mean, basically we teach docs how to drive in new patients, and then we teach them how to put them into care plans. It's just that simple. And I think if you really want to keep your practice simple, do those two things. Drive them in, put them into a care plan. Drive them in, put them into a care plan. However that works for you, technique, system, frequencies, I'll leave it up to you. But what we don't do is we don't do pay as you go because they rarely pay and they always go. And I think if you honor principle number 6, healing takes time, then you've got to honor the fact that most of the conditions that people are seeing you for are going to take some time. However, the bigger things beyond the pain is really what I play for as a vitalistic chiropractor. So we have testimonial boxes on our walls full of medications, inhalers, nebulizers, drugs patients have gotten off of, because that's what I'm always playing for.
Yeah.
So my operational premise is someone is praying to find you. And we got a world of desperation. You were talking about people are beat up with the negative stuff. Someone's praying to find you. That's my operational premise. So my job is first to drive them in, and second to put them in a plan.
Yeah.
And if somebody says, hey, my elbow hurts, it's real easy to say, that's why we have you on a plan. This is going to take some time. Yeah. We expected that. We anticipated that. If you're allowing them to have pain dictate where they come in and how often, then you will always be playing that symptomatic game. Right. And I'll tell you what, that's one that medicine has us beat, because pills and drugs make people feel better way quicker. If you're really honoring the body's ability to heal itself, then you've got to have some time to do what you do. I don't care if it's osseous, non-force techniques, all chiropractic works, hone your craft, but drive them in. Yeah, so we do, basically teach docs how to do outside talks, lectures, lunch and learns. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Right. Pre-educating people, I will tell you, is better than having a referred new patient. Yeah. Referred new patients are great, but if I can pre-educate someone, say, here's what we do and here's what we don't do, that's a much better new patient.
You know exactly what to expect.
If Mary comes in and she got one adjustment and her headaches went away, sometimes that's what they tell their friends, and they think you're going to give them the Hail Mary adjustment. It's like, not always what you want. So I would rather pre-educate them even than my patients. I'm a little bit different that way. But then with Elements of Close, we teach docs how to build a value fat day one and just do a really quick and easy report of findings, but put them in a plan. And if you can do that, then I would tell you the outside of that is you can also take some time off and away from your practice. Right. So we take 11, 12 weeks vacation every year with our kids, and that's pretty cool too. Yeah. And you have a whole associate program as a part of Elements of the Close. Is that correct? We've also got docs looking for associates. Yeah. So what's cool is they want to teach recent grads what they learned and let them do the reps and make the mistakes in their office, because we know if our docs are on an island somewhere and you're running the practice, even though you make some mistakes, you're going to get some stuff right. That's pretty cool because it's balanced. So absolutely. We call it a catch and release, where we take the young guy like you that's got it all put together, pour into you for 18 months, at the end of that time, you usually know what you need to do to run your practice. Go do it. We'll be brothers forever.
Yeah.
And then the reality is, the outside of that is I get some family time.
Right.
So it's super cool. You've heard it before, chiropractors eat their young. Not the way I teach it.
Yeah.
We take good care of our profession. We give back on a regular basis. But in this catch and release model, it's like, I'm going to grab a young, awesome doc, males, females, tall, short, it doesn't matter to me. Pour into them for a while, and then what that does is it really sets you up for success after you've run the reps. So to me, it's the opposite of eating their young. It's nurturing the young and just taking care of the recent grads.
Absolutely. So have you been in California? If someone doesn't know, Dr. Glowaki actually gave us, I won free tickets through New Patient Maven at Life Vision. What year was that? Last year, right?
Yeah.
Just last year, Life Vision. And we got 4 free tickets to CalJam. It was amazing. I was telling him on the way over here, it was one of the best times I've ever had in my life. And I couldn't have been more honored to shake hands, go palm to palm with some of the most influential people in this profession, which is pretty awesome. You got Billy DeMoss, Josh Axe was there. The list goes on and on and on. And it was fantastic. So talk to us about seminars. You speak all over the place. But what is it about not only CalJam, but what is it about just going to a conference for chiropractic? What does that do for people? What students and docs? What are we looking to get out of those?
I've got a big responsibility as a speaker to make sure that there's content. So before we turned this mic on and went live, it's like, it's coming up on 11 o'clock at night. We've been speaking all day. I'm in a different time zone. It doesn't matter. If I'm there as a speaker, I've got to deliver something that will help chiropractors, in my opinion, on Monday. And I'm in practice. Billy D and I always say we're in the trench, which means we're adjusting, we're doing it. I'm not talking about stuff I did 10 years ago or 20 years ago, because the game has changed in 20 years. Insurance has changed. The model has changed. Chiropractic hasn't, but all the ancillary stuff that a lot of times, whether we like it or not, shapes a lot of what chiropractors do. That stuff's always changing. So to me, to show up at a seminar and speak, it isn't about being up on stage. It's what value can I bring to the audience? And for me, it's what things can we put in play on Monday?
Right.
Because we do have a sick world and people are getting worse over time, not better. So we've got to work with a bit of a sense of urgency. If I can remove bottlenecks and make your flow easier, then you can serve a higher population. If I can reduce your stress, you can do this for more years in the trench. And that's what I want. So for me, a lot of what we've been doing with docs recently is just saying, look, every 90 days, you got to take a week off. A bare minimum is 4 weeks every year as a chiropractor. You got to check out. If not, like the typical American chiropractor will take 4th of July and Christmas off. And if Christmas is family coming to town, that's not a holiday.
Right.
You work harder if families in town. A little bit of eggnog. It's nothing fuss. It's not good, right? It's not recharge time. And then it becomes burnout, and that's not cool. So as a speaker, I got to deliver content no matter where my audience is, whatever continent that is. It's got to be relevant to them. I can't present USA statistics if I'm over in the UK. They've got a different set of issues. A whole new set of problems in Australia. You want to be sensitive to that. I'm not there to fix it. I'm there to build these chiropractors up. So any responsibility. I know you're going to be speaking at Life Vision, and you're going to be there with the table.
I'll be vending. I won't be speaking. Not speaking.
Hopefully
one day. Hopefully one day.
I'll put that on right here. But the reality is you've got to deliver some things that will change that practice or make them more valuable to their community. End of story. If not, then I don't deserve the microphone, and I should say no to the next opportunity. So when I show up, I like to just content. When I'm done, you just leave it all there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about relationships in chiropractic, networking, right? Even if that particular doc, because I'm going to go somewhere with this, even if that particular doc doesn't practice how you practice or do what you do, how important is it to be able to refer to other doctors and trust them because you possibly couldn't handle the situation or take care of that particular case? Talk a little bit about that if you can. Yeah.
So today we are teaching elements of the close in Atlanta. And we spent a good 20 to 30 minutes today really teaching docs how to politely share with their new patient on the day one in the consult. If they've seen a chiropractor, how to politely move around that. You can position yourself as different, but if they didn't have a good experience, how to not indulge that.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't have a good experience, how to navigate that without ever putting the other chiropractor down, never saying anything negative about any other chiropractor, ever. There's whole bunches of people lining up to do that based on no facts. You shouldn't feed into that. So to me, it's like, look, all chiropractic works. Be a master of your adjustment, and you should feel like you give the best adjustment.
Yeah.
So whenever we teach it, I always say, look, I give the best adjustment. You might be number 2, but I'm number 1. And you should always feel like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If not, hone your craft.
Right.
Go to a centropy and get your adjusting skills down.
Absolutely.
So to me, it's really about, being the master of whatever the technique is, and then respecting the technique enough. When I got out of school, I thought my way was the best way and everything else was wrong. What I now know is my way is the best way, but everything else has value.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Talk to us a little bit about the principles, not only in your office, but family, your lifestyle. It's a chiropractic lifestyle. We always preach that. We always talk about it.
Yeah.
But what does that mean to you personally, and what should it mean to other people if they haven't yet dove deep into it?
Man, I could do a whole hour on this. It really is the highest value for me. It's just time with my kids. I'm not really into stuff. We have cool stuff. We have a nice home. That's all great. I would tell you we're living the dream. Where we live, a cool little beach town right on the ocean in Southern California. That's great. But it's the time with my kids that's unscheduled, uninterrupted. So what we do every year is we pull out for 5 weeks and go to a different continent and take our kids somewhere else. And we just travel the world with no schedule for at least 5 weeks. Usually it's July. We just unplug.
Love it.
Our kids got involved with a really cool charity called NALU, started by 2 other chiropractic children of chiropractors. And basically they sell cool surf swag, and they sell items that inevitably the profits go to buy school uniforms for kids in India. So we took our kids to India to give the school uniforms away. And then that got so much recognition that the kids were actually asked to speak at the United Nations. So one of my most proud moments was about a year ago to this date in New York City, sitting there with my son, who was 13 years old at the time, at the UN, going, hey, chiropractic kids really can change the world. So what we teach is 360 success, 360 degrees of success.
Right.
It's not office success at all costs. It's success in all areas. And I'm not saying I got it all figured out, but taking time to look at each one of those areas.
Right.
Your own health, your spirituality, your practice health, taking care of finances. So you don't have to go to the office. You go because you want to go, but you take care of yourself. So that 360 success, to me, really means you can spend quality time with your kids.
Right.
My daughter's high school lacrosse player.
Yeah, it's a
other
big
day-
week. It's a big week.
It's a big week. So we got 6 games in 6 days next week. But she wanted to do some extra shooting. We didn't have time after school because they had a game. So I wrote her a doctor's note and signed her out of school so we could go shoot in the morning. I'm like, hey, look, everything can hold in life if you need something. And that's a really cool message to give your kids is you are top priority. And then having the flexibility in my schedule to just tell my associate, you're going to adjust. I'm going to help my daughter. And we call it a fire drill. At any point, I can walk out of my practice.
Yeah.
And it runs like a business because I can call a fire drill and I'm out. And so I got to shoot with her. And then later that day, they beat a team they shouldn't have beat. And she had 3 key goals in the second half.
That's awesome.
Like you get that look from your kid on the field, like, yeah, Dad. And it's like, thank goodness the microphone was silent right there. And it's just, I live for that stuff. So to me, practice is awesome. And I love my patients, but I'm no different than any other chiropractor. I love my kids more.
Right.
So the more time I can spend with them, man, the better it gets.
Yeah. And then mentally for yourself too, as a chiropractor, right? It keeps you sane, right? And it
for sure
keeps you in the game. It keeps you in the trenches,
and
right?
then they get to see life through that lens.
Exactly.
Billy D comes over and tunes guitars and has a cigar and hangs out with my son Luke, and they talk guitars, rock and roll, surfing, surf spots, breaks, tides. They're just hanging out. They are 40 years apart, and at the same time, it's like so. In those conversations comes up the topic of chemtrails and vaccines and whatever's on Billy's mind. You know what I mean? And it's just like, so it's really cool is, he's around it and he hears it. And, there's just, if they're not feeling well, they're like, hey, Dad, can you check my atlas? And I don't ever take that stuff for granted. They're just around chiropractic to where, they can either be chiropractors or they can marry chiropractors. They have choices in life. That's how I feel. That's about as much of democracy as I do. That's
they can
democracy.
be it or they can marry into it.
Choose whatever you want. That's really nice of me to give them options, I think. You know, so,
you got 50-50 shot.
Absolutely. So it's cool. And, you know, kids and here's the thing I would say advice to parents is you only get to raise them once. So do it right.
Yeah.
Do it the way you want to do it.
That's awesome. That's great. Doc, you are absolutely phenomenal. I can't thank you enough for Cal Jam. I can't thank you enough for being here. I know I got a buddy watching. Ian's watching. He was there. I got 2 other buddies that'll probably watch this later. So, yeah, it was a good time. Yes, it was a great time. So, tell people how big Cal Jam is. I want to talk a little bit about that because we talked about other speaking events, what you're supposed to take away from speaking events. But Cal Jam's top notch. It's unlike anything else on the planet.
It just is without compare.
Yeah.
And I don't ever mean that to disrespect something else. It's just different. And to start with, Billy always says it's not a chiropractic event. It's a wellness event. It's a health event. And this year, I think it really came to fruition with Robert Kennedy Jr. being there and just really kind of blowing the roof off of something like the topic of vaccinations, which he ties back into the big pharma cartel.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, look, all you need to know is that these are already convicted felons.
Yeah.
Right. So they've been to the tune of $34 billion. They've had to pay in fines and retribution. So they've lied about all this other science, all these other medications, all these other things. They are convicted felons, yet they still have a license to produce medicine. And now suddenly on this new topic that is vaccines, we're just supposed to believe them that they're all right and they're all good. Right. And it just, in a nutshell, to me, that's what Cal Jam is. It's not just for chiropractors. It really is for people to see chiropractic differently.
Yeah.
So again, in that sense, there's no disrespect to any other events. Just Cal Jam is different. And I get to speak at all these events, and it's always a privilege. There are some crazy 8-ball speakers that show up at Cal Jam. Sometimes they get good reviews, sometimes they don't. Sometimes there's a train wreck, and you got to see that too. But overall, I put my kids in the audience because I want them to just realize that there's bigger things going on in healthcare than what's in the newspaper,
right,
or what's on TV, or what we're supposed to be programmed to do.
Yeah,
we are not that.
Yeah,
and to teach them the trust in that process. So, Cal Jam is something every chiropractor should experience. We've done it. I don't know if this is 8 years in a row or 9 years in a row, but we raffle off 2 different sets of tickets. I think we put you guys up in a hotel.
Yep, hotel, 4 tickets. And yeah, it was incredible.
We've done that for years. And sometimes I meet the students and sometimes I don't. I like to give back to the profession. I want there to be a really cool future for you guys.
Right.
Selfishly, you are the link between myself and my children. So I want this to be a strong profession. And the truth is, it's all very, it's just all selfish. It's unselfish in the sense that, look, we need a strong profession moving forwards. And the more profitable, the more solid chiropractors we have, those are our colleagues.
Yeah. Then
we go forwards together in a much stronger way than if we have the number one source of chiropractors being turned in to any board is other chiropractors.
Yeah.
It's like, how pathetic is that?
Right.
You know,
right.
And they just don't do that in other healthcare professions. Medical doctors don't turn MDs in. We have this limited mindset. We got to bust out of that. We got to get into that abundance.
Yeah.
Go for it. You know,
yeah.
And to me, I would just draw the line at meds in the profession.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah.
No drugs. I don't mean that abundant that we need prescription rights. That's bullshit.
Right, right.
So, are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, go for it.
I haven't yet. I just want to know if I can use the real words.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was a courtesy.
It's 11 o'clock at night Eastern time.
I was just getting warmed up. You know? But the reality is, you know, drugs don't belong in our profession. It's part of what we do that's different. It's part of why people want to see a chiropractor.
Exactly, yeah.
Even, you know, this oxy and this overdose crisis going on with oxycodone and OxyContin and all the opioids that are out there, they should have seen a chiropractor.
Right.
And they just came out with a study. Something like 59% of people that got started on oxy had lower back pain. Now, that isn't all we do. We do way more than low back pain. But if we could have saved those families from that heartache,
it's a good place to start.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah.
You know, give them another option.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
You know, market to your fetish, pick your passion, speak your unique voice in chiropractic. And we don't need the drugs to write prescriptions to be unequal. I don't want to be equal. I want to be different than the medical doctors.
Yeah. And I think we have to be
for sure.
Because it keeps us separate. It keeps us distinct. And that's exactly what we need in chiropractic. Unless we don't want to get swooped up with everything else. I think that's the worst thing that could possibly happen.
And we have MDs as patients. There's some really good-hearted medical doctors. There's no doubt. The big pharma cartel really controls what the machine pumps out. And unfortunately, the MDs have kind of become almost like, pieces on the chessboard, and they just really get pushed around by big pharma. And it's gone too far. These families, the last I looked at it, was something like 150 people per day in the U.S. were dying from opioid overdoses. 150 a day. Yeah. That's destroying families for generations. It's not right.
Yeah. Right.
So
it's tough. It's a tough conversation to have too, because not many people want to have it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to difficult topics like we're on right now, when it comes to patient approaching that, do you do it gently? Do you do it truthfully, obviously, but do you just hit it right on the head, or do you kind of ease
The
it?
truth is there's some tact to it. And this is where chiropractors do this wrong, in my opinion, or it could be done better. And what I mean by that is you got to go into agreement with people, not to the extent that you say medications are good. In fact, that's what we're teaching today, is how to politely move around that, but still get them the message. The meds aren't good. But the reality is, to influence somebody, you have to come from a place of agreement. And a real simple tactic you can use right after this video is something we call yes and. What a lot of chiropractors are good at is no but. Yeah. So should have taken your kids to see a chiropractor and not back to the MD. Right. So if a mom comes into the office and says, look, my little daughter, we're going to put tubes in her ears for the 4th time, we got to go back to the medical doctor. Yeah. The typical chiropractor will go, no, you shouldn't do that. But what you should do is get her in and get checked. That's a no but scenario. No, you're wrong, but you should do this. Yeah. As soon as you make them wrong, they're not going to do part 2. So the opposite of a no but is a yes and. Yes, I understand why you'd want to do that. And did you ever consider trying chiropractic care? Because we actually get different results. And if the tubes worked, you wouldn't have to do it 4 times. Right. And then I would just follow that with permission. Do I have your permission to make a suggestion? Yeah. And permission to proceed is huge. We live in an opt-in world. You've got to get permission. Everything we teach is permission marketing. Everything we do in the day 2 is creating buyers. I don't push, grind, or ever sell chiropractic. I just create buyers. If you know how to influence, you can really steer any conversation. I'm talking table talk within a minute back into where you'd like the patient to go. Yeah. They, of course, have to agree to it. But no but doesn't work. Yes, and go into agreement. Yes, I'd understand why you want to do that. And we have some different solutions. Would you like to hear about it? Would you consider checking your child for subluxations? And a word like consider is a really soft, low buy-in. That's how you want to communicate with your patients. Softly and gently, and then you pull them in, as opposed to like, and we do that sometimes where it's like, body that made the body heals the body. Boom, it's like, dude, it's great for the seminar, but horrible for your practice. It's like, there's a time and a place for it, It's when they get results. That what happened was I didn't do that. The power that made the body heals the body. So that's a post frame, not a pre frame. Yeah. Whole different scenarios.
Right. And I think it's really, in essence, meeting the patient where they're at. Yeah. But then agreeing with them and saying, I see where you're at. I see what you're going through. I understand it. Yep. Let's look at some other options, right? Absolutely. Can we explore other options? Absolutely. Right.
And it's huge because as soon as they say yes, it's game on. Yeah. It's just, you're like 90% of the way there. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's talk about chiropractic schools.
Yeah.
It's a tough conversation to have in the profession right now.
It's not. Some of them suck. It's not. Some of them are horrible.
So I want to talk. Yes. Okay, fine. We'll make it easy. Yeah. But I mean, tell me your thoughts. Where are we going wrong? Where is and that's a big statement. Like, where's the chiropractic profession going wrong? I don't know. Where do you start? Yeah. But I think it does kind of start at the schools, right? It starts, square one is the foundational education that you have to get.
Here's a positive side. It could be fixed there.
Yeah.
McDonald's is super convenient. It's right down the street. It's not healthy. Just because you have a convenient chiropractic school down the street doesn't mean it's healthy for the profession. You cannot feed the schools that are working against your belief systems. And if you're watching this as a vitalistic chiropractor, you can't feed the non-vitalistic schools. It makes it pretty simple. You have to convince your patients to go to the right schools, to go to the ones that support the belief systems that you have. And the reality is, then things can get better. Yeah. But you can't let them go down the street because it's convenient. McDonald's is convenient, and if you can't tell, I don't eat it. I don't know about this guy. But the reality is...
I'm a growing boy.
Yeah. Look at him for crying out loud. Supersize him. But it doesn't work that way, right? You can't feed them to the bad schools and expect a better profession in 10 years. Yeah. It really is... It is a problem at the schools, but the solution's also there too.
Right. And when it comes to keeping the subluxation in the model of curriculum of education. How important is that for the future of chiropractic, right?
You have to have it.
Yeah.
And if they don't want it, fuck them. To me, it's just draw the line unequivocally. It's like telling a dentist they can't say cavity anymore. Telling a dentist, we're not going to say root canal. We're going to call it a somatoral, visceral, oral dysfunction. Screw that. You know what? The reality is this has been part of who we are historically. It defines a culture and a practice that if you have something unique and specific that you detect and correct, then that is why we have a profession. And it's been under attack before, and it's under attack again. And however they choose to do it, I'll tell you that's one of the foundational tenets is you start taking away the vocabulary to erode the culture. You start changing what the things are that we're allowed to talk about. You start to limit the scope and things like taking x-rays. If I want to use an x-ray for patient safety reasons, we have found gnarly stuff on x-rays. We found cancers and tumors that nobody else saw. We've had fractures that MDs have missed. It's part of what we do, and the time is not to pull back. Right. The time is really to step in and say, no, enough is enough. And if there are chiropractic organizations that can't get behind it, don't give them your money.
Yeah. And that's going to segue right into what I want to talk about next, the money. Yeah. Where do you put your money, right? And a lot of people will say that simple phrase of put your money where your mouth is. Yeah. But a lot of people don't really have a mouth in chiropractic, which is sad. We talked about that a little bit on the way over here. It's like people aren't verbal enough and pushing back enough, like you were saying, take it head on. Yeah. How do you vote with your dollar, I guess, in chiropractic?
Look, I'm not a big fan of doing the research. I'm not a big fan of writing research papers. I love the synopsis on a research article because some of those things are really thick to read all the way through. So I will write my checks to research groups that will show us and validate some of these things that we're talking about. The workshop we're teaching this weekend, I have scientific articles that validate the recommendations we give. The research articles validate the ongoing wellness care that we give. So I can go to other countries and say, I've got scientific articles that will validate your recommendations. There is something written on this. One piece of information doesn't prove anything, right? You can't say, I have this article, it proves it. You get really, it's a dangerous thing to say that. So even as an uneducated person when it comes to science, don't find your one thing and say it proves it. But if it can show why you're doing what you're doing or it supports what you're doing, you're in a way better position. So even the things we teach now in really sensitive areas, like Australia, like the UK, anywhere in Europe, I want to make sure that we're giving the doctors the right reasons to do it. I don't want to do the research. I don't have the time to do it. So we have written some pretty fat checks to CBP nonprofit. I love the work Deet Harrison's done. I love listening to Heidi Hovick. We've given her 10 grand in the last 12 months. You know, I mentioned ASRF. All those groups are subluxation-based groups. Yeah. And they're doing awesome work. So we write checks to those groups.
I think you have to. I think, and then it goes back to that putting your money where your mouth is because you practice the principle, you practice the subluxation, you practice wholehearted vitalistic chiropractic care. And I think that voting with your dollar when it comes to education, voting with your dollar when it comes to research, voting with your dollar when it comes to politics is another big one, right? So let's dive down the political realm and talk about that. What are the groups to trust, in your opinion, and why, right?
I'm not a fan of the ACA. You know, what they're doing right now with the choose wisely and when to take x-rays and that stuff, it's so backwards. And the truth is, in practice, again, from the trench, I'm looking at patients and we've found things on there that are times that you should not go and adjust into that area. They've had pain. They've had problems. Well, no wonder they have a tumor. They have metastasis of the spine. There's times my job as a chiropractor is to make people comfortable before they transition. But unfortunately, the person that found out that they had these horrible things was me, you know, and we saw it on our x-rays and we saw the pain patterns that didn't make sense or it really alerted you to something. I have patients, I'm their only doctor. Please don't limit what I can do for safety reasons because of whatever the agenda is of the ACA. I'm not a fan of it. And I've had too many patients over the years where I'm the only one they see. That's a big responsibility. I didn't ask for it. That's just a level of trust we build. Yeah. They have a problem with their feet. They come in, they want me to. They have a problem with their teeth. I'm like, hey, there's other doctors in the world, you know.
There are other people.
We'll get you a podiatrist. You need a dentist. But when it comes to things as serious as cancer, let me take the picture. Let me look at an x-ray and let me see. And don't limit how we do that because it isn't just for cancers and fractures. It is for subluxations. It is for spinal distortions. There's many things that we can see and do and improve on Why would you want to limit that?
Yeah.
And it really is a patient safety issue, unequivocally. Where they're going with this, choose wisely campaign, choose another profession. That's my feeling on the ACA. No, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah. So ICA, IFCO, where do you kind of lie?
I like the ICA.
Okay, yeah.
Anytime you get into political lines, a lot of it is it's an ignorance of what the other groups do or what's going on. Sometimes people ask me letters, and I go, "Please tell me what that stands for."
There's a new group. There's a new group on the scene.
I'm not super politically involved, but I know enough that when it's going to start to affect how I can practice,
exactly.
what happens in the clinical experience for you guys. Not cool. ACA should stay out of it. I'm a lifetime member of the ICA. And again, there's many groups doing lots of great works. I've mentioned some research groups. I'm sure I'll get messages. You forgot to mention this group. Cool. I'll look into it. I'm happy to support them in the future. I'm not done yet. I've got a lot of years ahead of me.
Yeah.
We're going to do great things. So even on that stuff, like some people need to pump their brakes a little bit. Like, coming from a good place, we just raised $500,000 for the Children's Defense Fund for RFK. But the truth is, I didn't give the $500,000.
Right.
Billy and I gave our $10,000, and then everybody else kicked in the money. We should be doing more of that stuff. It isn't a one-time scenario. We should be seeing more of that. And I believe we can. I believe we're at a place with chiropractors really hitting another gear that we can do more of that stuff. So,
yeah. And that, I think all of it stems back. You come out prepared from your education, philosophically sound, technically sound. You're ready to hit the ground running. And then when it comes to businesses and running the business, you have things out there, elements of the close, new patient maven. You have these things that docs are willing to help, right? Yeah. And it's not. Sometimes people, I think, get involved in the associateship and all this, like we eat our young and everything like that. And maybe there are some unethical people and immoral people that do that. But how do you trust, as a student coming out, how do you trust a group, like a coaching group? Because I personally believe everyone should have coaching. Yeah. Everyone should have access to coaching, and everyone should have a coach or be mentored or something along those lines to help them business-wise as a chiropractic student or chiropractor who just graduated.
Sure.
How do you know who to trust?
There's a lot of good people in our profession.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yeah.
And again, we get into comparative statements and people get really sensitive. This one's the best, and
right.
that one's the best.
Right.
It's like, all right, cool. Who's number 2? Like who's number 3? It's like a lot of times it's just the superlative. There's a lot of good people. There's a lot of coaches that are my good friends and they have really good services. Over a course of time, there's going to be people that didn't do well with it, and I don't think it's the material. It just didn't resonate with that doc. That doc was in a tough time in their life.
Right.
That stuff happens. To me, I think what you said is it's got to resonate with you.
Yeah.
And there's also got to be something there that is congruent with what it is that you're doing. We have a lot of docs that do our work that have families and want bigger balance. One of the first things I do in our catch and release is we agree to the ending date.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I'm going to bring you on and I'm going to mentor you, what's my shot clock?
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I won't do it if it's under a year.
Yeah.
If you say I'll be out in 6 months, it's going to take me 90 days to train you as a minimum. I'm just not into it.
Right.
So the first thing we agree to is the end.
Yeah.
Which is kind of counterintuitive. But if you're going to be there for 18 months,
cool.
Yeah. Then I can reverse engineer what we're going to do over that time. We can work it in so you have some time off. I have my time off. There's times we're there together. There's workshops we're going to do together. And then what I like to do with my associates is make them teach.
Yeah.
Because teacher learns the most.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of value in having coaching. And to me, you've got to find something that resonates with you. I don't get into comparative statements of this is better than this. It's got to be right. There's different ages. There's even gender specific stuff that's starting to pop up where there's female coaches for female docs. I love it. I think it's great. Get specific in that niche. That doesn't, our biggest threat is not from the inside. The reality is we've got a bigger agenda to get more people face down on a table to get them their first adjustment.
Right.
And how we go about that, there should be some synchronization of sorts of, where we just understand that there's a lot of valuable tools and let's get to work.
Absolutely. And that'll segue right into this point is you go to your chiropractic office, completely vitalistic, subluxation based. You walk probably, you're in a small town, but say you go a mile or a couple miles and you knock on another doc's office, completely different experience.
Yeah.
Why? And how do we go about unifying the message of chiropractic so we can get more people on a table?
Yeah, I don't know that there's a unification. And I believed in that for years. I just think there's so much diversity. It's a really weird thing to pull them all in.
Mm-hmm.
You put docs in a room and you're going to find a lot. So I've just enjoyed the diversity. Just go look, celebrate the differences. Here's my thing. Not into the pills and drugs and prescription rights. We don't need it. If you want to manipulate and write prescriptions, go be a DO. That profession exists. Get out of ours, right? So there's certain boundaries where I'll draw the line. And just say, this is what we stand for and this is what we stand against.
Absolutely.
You know, when I do teach, I tell people I've got an unfair advantage because I was just in the office yesterday. You know, I was working with people yesterday. We have elite athletes in many different professional sports. Not that that's a wow factor, other than it means I know how to communicate, even to some untouchable people, to navigate some really sensitive areas. And to be able to do that, to get those people the results in a vitalistic model, the communication's got to be spot on.
Yeah.
So for me to be in practice and teach what we're doing, I think that's what our docs enjoy the most about what we do is it's relevant, it's high volume, it's highly profitable. At least take 4 weeks vacation every year and realize that there's more to life than just the practice.
Right.
It's that 360 success.
Yeah.
Success in all areas, not success at all costs.
Right. That's a good point. That's a good final point. So I want to thank you. We're coming up on 45 minutes here. I think it's 11:15 at night, right? I think we did it. This was the first in-person interview with Dr. Brad Glowaki, and first in-person interview for the Legendary Chiropractor online community. And also, this is going to be a shameless plug, but head to thelegendarychiropractor.com/mentor up to find your free coaching and mentoring.
You said that awfully quick. Could you say that slowly again?
Head to thelegendarychiropractor.com/mentor up for free coaching and mentorship, all for the student, all for the doc, by students and docs. So get out there, do it. Doc, I want you to have a closing, give us a closing statement, what you feel about chiropractic, where it's going, the trajectory, and then action steps. How can people get in touch with you?
I'd like to ask you a few questions now.
Absolutely.
Who's your favorite football team?
Mine? Yeah. The Bears, Chicago Bears.
Good answer. What are you going to do when you get out of school?
Become a chiropractor.
Awesome. What kind of style of practice are you going to run?
Subluxation-based, philosophy-based chiropractic. Absolutely.
Where are you going to send your patients that want to be chiropractors?
Life University.
Right on.
Or Life West, or Sherman.
When those students come out of school and they want mentoring, are you going to offer it?
Absolutely.
Are you going to continue to teach, coach, and do interviews?
Absolutely.
Where did you do your interview skills? Who taught you how to interview?
Nobody.
You're just a natural.
I went to it.
Harry
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
No bad Bears teams have good commentating.
All Chicago teams have great commentators.
So before I give you my closing statements, I want you to give us some closing statements. What is your purpose with this podcast? Why are you trying to help more people? Because there'll always be people in chiropractic that will question your motives and go, what are you doing? It's like giving you guys the free tickets. Well, why would you do that? It's like, because it's okay to be nice. You know? It's okay to give from your abundance. I expect nothing in return. And here we are hooking up. I didn't know you guys. We're going to do this. I don't think you even had your podcast when you won.
No, I did not.
So people, is that why I go, I'm not, it's not that calculated.
Right. It's kind of how the universe works. It's just kind of how the universe works. But no, I mean, it started with an idea. Everything starts with an idea, right? And an idea doesn't become anything until it's written down. And then once it's written down, it has to have action steps. And that's really the birth story of the Legendary Chiropractor. I always want to help more people and reach more people. And I saw, you, Billy DeMoss, David Tuhill, I mean, these big name guys in chiropractic doing really powerful things through social media, right? And through the power of technology. And a lot of people like to crap on technology. I'm not one of those people. I think it's an amazing thing, and I think it keeps us so connected. It's out of this world. And I mean, I was telling you, I think we've been Facebook friends for 5 years. And as creepy as that sounds, it's pretty impactful. You've had an impact on me without even probably knowing it. And I call it the virtual mentor, right? It's a virtual mentorship because you follow them. You're drinking your smoothie in the morning for 5 minutes, and you're scrolling Facebook. Oh, there's Dr. Glowaki. What's he doing? Okay, cool. Watch that video. I took what I want from it. I'm going to leave what I don't want and then move on. and go to the next person and the next person. My Facebook feed, my social media is completely covered with docs and entrepreneurs, people that are big in their profession, because you have to follow influencers if you want to be an influencer. And so I really had the idea of like, how do I bring that mindset, everything I just word vomited onto you, how do I get that out to other people? And that's exactly where the Legendary Chiropractor came from. I am not the Legendary Chiropractor. It is us as the Legendary Chiropractor.
Felt good to say that.
It is, yeah.
Because I know the criticisms that you get, and I've been there too, where people are like, oh, so you think it's like, just ease off the throttle a little bit. Yeah. And I really wanted you to share that because it's important that people know it's coming from a good place. Yeah. And if you take what you want from it, it will take you to a good place.
Absolutely.
And if there's things that don't resonate, it's cool. Yeah. Just relax. Yeah. There's a lot of people that get really uptight about, are you the Legendary Chiropractor? Right. I'm going to say you will be.
I appreciate that, Doc.
And it's really cool because you're coming from the right place. Yeah. That as much as you're interviewing me, I think it's really important your viewers and listeners understand, hey, you got a really good heart.
I appreciate that.
This is coming from a really cool spot where you're trying to give back. Yeah. And people can honestly do that with altruistic motives. Right. It's absolutely. It's just good for you, the viewer, and if that's it, just in the times that we've hooked up and connected, I think it's important that you know that it's coming from the right spot. Yeah. And the reality is, there'll be people that I'm sure make fun of the title and what it is, but it's cool because you got it. When you step out, you're going to take some arrows.
Oh yeah, you are.
The reality is, just keep doing it because you're making some really big changes.
I appreciate it.
Where do you see this being in a year?
I see us vending at more events, Cal Jam included in that. And when I say vending, every single one. Yes. I mean, any stage that'll have me,
so
absolutely.
If you've got a venue that needs a quality speaker,
there you go.
Everybody needs their first break.
I don't even need a microphone. I'm that loud. I don't even need a mic.
He's from Chicago. I'm the quiet talker because everybody in my family, I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. But the Wave, Cal Jam, Life Vision, it could be a state association event. Everybody needs their 5 minutes of fame. Yeah. Everybody needs a break. I'd say give the kid a shot, right? We've all been there. But what's cool is there's always new leaders coming up and running. I wasn't supposed to fully hijack his interview, but I'm feeling really good with it right now. So,
I appreciate it. I mean, I'm very, very
What is your chiropractic story? What got you into chiropractic?
Oh, wow. That's a long story, but I used to make it short and sweet.
I'll take the short version.
Yes.
We do that at our team meetings. That's a takeaway.
I'll take the short version.
If you're working on my team, you can bring me one problem. You got to bring me two solutions. That's how
I like it.
It's a CEO function. Don't dump problems on my desk. One problem, two solutions. Give me options. Go. Yeah. Same thing here.
I had about 17.
Oh, it's a long story. I don't have time for long stories. Short version, Johnny. Go.
Yeah. I had 17 problems and one solution, which was chiropractic in the end. I mean, that's the shortest story. Allergies, ADHD, on Ritalin, on all of the medications. And really, I was getting 6 shots, I was getting 6 shots 3 times a week. I was getting 18 shots a week. So that's a lot, right? That's a lot of shots for allergies. And pretty much I was allergic to everything. They did the test. I was allergic to everything. And I grew up like that. That was my life. I didn't go outside in the spring. I didn't go outside in the summer. And I loved playing soccer. I loved being outside. I'm a kid, right? I'm a kid. And so when I was 13, we moved to a new house, and my dad, new chiropractor, was in town, and my dad was like, oh man, this guy's great. I just met him the other day. I'm going to go in and check it out. So my dad went in, and then the chiropractor was like, well, where's your family, right? And so that Dr. Kurt Buss, that's a shout out for you. Cool. But yeah, he's awesome. He's phenomenal. And he was like, hey, Jim, where's your kid? Where's your son? You always tell me he's got bad allergies. I was in there for few months, obviously. Healing takes time, principle number 6. But I mean, I've never turned back. It's been that since I was 13 years old. I said, yes, I'm going to become a chiropractor. And I got 1 year left, man. one year left.
What a freeing moment when you realized what you were going to do with your life.
It was pretty powerful.
At 13,
right.
I was 16.
Yeah.
When you figure it out, it's just like, this is really cool. Mm-hmm. Like, even in undergrad, I knew what I was going to do the next step. So I was good in my own skin. Yeah. I saw a lot of people not. At 13, how cool is it to know that that's what you're going to do?
It was pretty powerful. And then it was cool, too, because you can go into college and you know exactly, like you were saying, you know what you're going to do next. Unfortunately and fortunately, chiropractic is a professional degree, so you have to get it. You have to attain it.
Yeah.
You can't just get out and go into the workforce.
Right.
But I was able to start following people because I was so invested at a young age that I was able to start creating this virtual mentor circle and community on social media and in my personal life too, reaching out to people, asking them questions about chiropractic, their experience. But I wasn't talking to other kids about it, right? Which is pretty interesting when I think back to that.
Yeah.
Kids don't talk to other kids. They just assume that everyone gets that, right? No one should have allergies because I don't have allergies because of chiropractic. I mean, it's an interesting dynamic, but it was cool because I was able to set myself up for success going into chiropractic school where I had my philosophy honed in on.
Right.
I mean, you look at the table here, I set it up. It looks like a book sale, but I got Fred Barge books. I got BJ Palmer Green books. I don't mess around with this stuff. I think it's powerful. And I think that what we do as the legendary chiropractor can create some pretty legendary chiropractors. And,
sure.
and it's going to be pretty powerful to see where this takes me. And in a year, speaking on stages, vending, I mean, you name it. I want to be there and I want to be all around all the time. I'm all chiropractic.
So as much content as I hope to drop and the things that we were going through in the interview, I wanted to give him a chance to tell his story.
I appreciate that, Doc.
The reality is it's coming from a really good place. He's a sweetheart of a guy. A lot of people in our profession come from that space. And what you're doing with this is really cool. And the reality is I just wanted your viewers to hear your story.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I think that's equally powerful that they understand that this is just an open exchange of good content.
It is.
And we got to do more to help each other out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to your first big stage appearance.
We'll get there.
We're getting there. We keep putting it out there. We're just gonna.
We're gonna put it out there.
No
we'll see
longer
what
in the
happens.
hallways. Right to the big stage. So,
yeah, I'm not prepared. If Dr. LaMarche is watching this, I'm not prepared for this weekend. But in crunch mode, you can always let an 8 take
Here's
over.
Here's the deal. He may not be prepared, but he's ready.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
Prepared and being ready. Most of you are ready for the next challenge. You just haven't prepared, but that's okay.
Absolutely, Doc. Absolutely. I love and appreciate you. Thank you so much. What are some action steps? How can people reach out to you, get in touch with you, or get in touch with Elements of the Close, New Patient Maven? How can they get involved?
Yeah, newpatientmaven.com. Go to that website. Our day 1, day 2 trainings, we've been doing some really cool things in a vitalistic model where we also, the parallel track is the catch and release. So we do some online stuff called Level Up, levelupmentoring.com. Level Up Mentoring really is about not only getting your office systematized and out of the personality, getting you to be the highest paid doc in your town. And then to level up your life, you basically start plugging in this associate model where you can blow out of town for 8 weeks. We do 11, 12 weeks every year. We really do run $1 million practice. So I put up my tax return for docs as a PowerPoint slide just to cut through the BS. We have a one-way wall in my practice. It's a one-way mirror. Docs come listen to the table talk. We've had somebody count and click the visits. It's just as open and as transparent as we can make it. Because some of that I think lacks in this profession. You were talking about, how to choose a coach and a mentor.
Yeah.
I'm not a coach. Right. A coach is someone that used to do it that doesn't anymore. I'm a mentor because I'm still in the game.
Right.
And to me, I can be an open book and say, this is what we do. Here's how we do it. Here's a one-way mirror. These are audios, drops, whatever we have to do to just say, if this helps you, then that's great. And if not, that's cool too. But those websites will put you in touch. Any comments will come right to me. Yeah. And the reality is I want to teach docs to have less stress, see a bigger volume. And it's what we call laid back volume. It's the way to do it and have that profitability.
Absolutely.
So it's been fun.
Doc, appreciate you very, very much. So head to thelegendarychiropractor.com for all of your chiropractic needs. It is the virtual one-stop shop for everything chiropractic. So head there for coaching, head there for mentoring. We just talked all about that. It's very important. It's critical. It's crucial to your success, not only in school, but also your success when you get out and practice, because it can be a less wicked transition from school to doctor if you have people looking out for you, if you have people in your inner circle that really know what you're doing, know what you're after. And like you said, where's your projection, right? Where are you going to be in 1 year? Where are you going to be in 5 years? Where are you going to be in 10 years? And I think that's important to start thinking about now versus into the future. So I appreciate you being here, Doc. This is the The late night Raw show. I love it. We talked about a lot. I'm going to go stop live on Instagram, and I will be back to stop live on Facebook.
Right on. So it's fun to do it live. Cheers, everybody.
Cool. Save. That ended a long time ago, I guess. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will share this everywhere we can to get the message out there to the people. Awesome. Thanks, guys.